You're being very action-based. You're not taking your time. You're being very action-based.
I'm taking my time.
You're being very action-based. You have 8 kids with 3 different women. Yes. You are creating, procreating, and multiplying. That is not taking your time. You're being very selectively active. Okay? So you're creating, and disclaimer, the kids are innocent. They are beautiful and amazing. Anything I say has nothing to do with them babies. I can't wait to be a mom, and I love the kids, period. But you...
Hey guys, welcome to Little Blackburn 91. Listen, we're going to go deep today. We're going to talk to you guys about Cam Newton. You guys obviously messaged me to say, listen, I should look at the Cam Newton stuff. So I went to watch the whole 2.5-hour video. I want to say this. Cam Newton, you know what? It was so interesting listening to him. And I straight away could hear a lot of what I would call dismissive avoidant points, right? So if you've been following my channel the last few months, I've been talking about attachment styles and kind of breaking down how people attach in relationships. And a lot of what I heard with Cam Newton was an avoidance perspective on relationships, right? And it was quite interesting because of the way that he actually suffered with criticism, because a lot of the way he was coming at Dr. Brian was really interesting, because the same energy that he was given, he couldn't receive it. Like she didn't even give him the same energy. The energy that he was given, he could not receive it, which told me straight away that you are willing to dish it because you were actually triggered before the interview took place. Whatever happened before the interview, Cam was already triggered, okay? And that usually, when it comes to people who are dismissive, avoidant people, we struggle with the era of criticism, because what it really actually signifies to us is that we're not being understood, right? And I'll break that down a little bit later in the video. So when he came into the interview, when we started, it was all guns blazing. My man was in there straight away, giving Dr. Brian the business, right? And he really wanted to catch her out straight away. And I was like, why is he doing that? Like, why is the energy of the interview straight away almost like he's trying to catch her out? And I realized that it's because he was triggered before the actual interview began. I don't know if it's a conversation they had, whether he's watched some of her videos, but everything about the way he was addressing her from the very beginning was telling me he was triggered. But it's not the beginning of the video, nor this part of the video, that's really intriguing for me. Because when I want to understand what's going on, I want to break down people to the very core origins of where they began from, right? I got to take it all the way back to the very beginning of where this actually started, okay? Because something's happened to Cam as to why he wants to have 3 baby mothers and 8 children and think it's not a broken home. And to think that he's not broken in some sense as to why he did what he did. The very funny thing about Cam Newton is he tells us himself, out of his own mouth, that he studied sociology and took psychology classes. Well, since he took sociology and psychology classes, he should be able to go back and be able to go, actually, let me take accountability. I'm looking at myself as a child and realizing there were several things that were missing from my relationship with my parents as to why I am in the space I'm in right now. Because there is no way, I'm sorry, can I be real with you? When you look at such dysfunction, it's very rare, and I'm going to say again, it's very rare for dysfunction to play out the way it has in his life, to also play out, to come from suddenly nowhere. Like, Satan doesn't just appear in your life. No. Satan appears because he's at the very beginning. Meaning, what I mean by that is what you experience in your childhood is what's contributing towards your dysfunctional thought process in your adulthood, right? So having several baby mothers, okay, then being afraid to marry. Why are you afraid to marry? Can we be honest here? No, did anybody deep the paradoxical thinking here? You are questioning this woman about her background and saying to her, have you got a good ecosystem, right? About people that are around you, that speak to you and that support you, that can help you see what a healthy marriage is. My brother, but you are saying that you came from without saying it, you are saying almost in a sense that you came from a home where your mom is an angel, you love your dad, etc., right? And so surely you should be able then to replicate that. Why didn't you replicate that? Here's why: because you saw something you didn't like. So you didn't want to tell the truth. See, whilst you were questioning her, I was actually paying attention to his responses. You weren't telling the truth. Whilst I do believe that Dr. Brian has her own issues, which she explained, he didn't tell the full truth about the marriage that he saw between his parents. That is why he went down on a different road. Why would a child who's trained up in a great way, in a way that they should go, in a loving environment with loving parents who have a very good marriage, who stuck it out and stuck out for the right reasons, why would that child then choose to have 3 baby mothers, 8 children, and be afraid of marriage? See, I saw a lot of men responding like, yeah, but they did fail to understand. You didn't take into account his origin. Why would he be at a point now? Yeah, sure, he can be an NFL star. Yeah, sure, he has money. Yeah, sure, he has resources. Yeah, sure, he has plenty of women to go around. But we all know dysfunction doesn't just come from thin air. It's dysfunction that's bred from when you were a child, oftentimes from when you're a child, that you've carried into adulthood, that you've not sought out and not changed. Now, there's a lot more we're going to break down in the next few minutes, but I want to give my opening statement to let you guys know that Cam, you know, if we were to go by what our good sister said, right? Our good sister said, listen, you can be high functioning and high value. I believe Cam to be high value, and his actions are definitely low functional. It's as simple as that. And here's why. If he had come out and said, honestly, do you know what? I made mistakes in that season that I was in. If I actually paid attention to what, that season, I made mistakes. I slept with women unprotected or whatever I was doing, and I conceded on 3 occasions. Which, by the way, it's not a mistake. At that point, you're on 3, unless you had 3 at the same time, right? It's not a mistake, right? You're not foolish. You knew exactly what you were doing, right? So at that point in time, why were you willing to risk your NFL career or risk your financial aspect, right, to have kids outside of a home that you're not married to? We're talking about the fear of divorce because we're going to lose money. You're losing money by spending money on those kids who are not in your home, right? So why are we willing to do that? Why are we willing to be okay having children that are going to take your money anyway, then give it to a woman who you're going to marry and be with and potentially and get wrong? Here's the reason why. See, what that conversation about marriage and being afraid of marriage, you're not afraid of marriage. No. Men are not, men and women, by the way, but let's talk about the men because we're talking about the men today. The men are not afraid of marriage. What you're afraid of is your poor judgment and discernment. See, I'm going to keep it real with you now. We're going to get really real with this. You're not afraid of marriage. You are afraid of your poor discernment and your poor judgment. You can call it whatever you want to call it and talk about how we're afraid of women taking our money and women change their minds and did it. You knew that anyway. You knew that anyway. You knew women change their minds. You know that women are over time are going to change because you're going to change. This notion that men don't change is nonsense. We all change over time. Okay. The reality of the situation is this: you're not afraid of marriage. You are afraid of your discernment. You're afraid of you. You see what marriage does is it puts up a mirror in front of you. So you're not afraid of marriage. You're afraid of what you're going to see when you get into marriage about what you really are. See, if you're good at discerning and judging, you're not afraid to be able to make this decision. Let me give an example. I'm sorry if I got a bit of a lisp. My Invisalign is really in my mouth at the moment, so I've got a little bit of a lisp as well with it. So hold on. Okay, so we're not afraid by any means. Okay, we're not afraid of marriage. Marriage is like it's just the institution, the vehicle, but we didn't truly. The car in itself is not an issue. Like, you're not afraid of driving. You're not afraid of the car. You're afraid of the driver who's in the car. The car in itself doesn't crash itself. You understand what I'm saying to you? The car in itself does not crash itself. You are afraid of other drivers who drive that vehicle. What we are afraid of is not marriage. We need to stop that language. The language of I'm afraid of marriage is absolute bollocks. It is a lie. You're not afraid of marriage. You are afraid of you. You got poor discernment and poor judgment. And everybody needs to start taking accountability. You, the woman, and anybody else who's involved in marriage. I mean, of course, I only believe in 2 people being in marriage. But, people need to start taking accountability. You're not afraid of marriage. You're afraid of your poor judgment. You don't know how to discern. And instead of you going away and say, actually, let me take the time out and let me go and research. Let me go and get a coach to improve myself. Since I have a coach for football, I have a coach for my businesses, I have my coach for whatever. But you ain't going to get a coach for relationship. And here's why: because you think you know it already. And that's the biggest problem. You think you know it already. You think you know it already. So that's why you won't go and get a coach for relationships. But you happily have a coach during the seasons that are off. You happily have a coach when the seasons are quiet in the summertime, whatever. You have a coach to improve yourself because you understand the value of that coach teaching you something that even though you believe you know it all about football, they can help you see something that you didn't see about yourself. And so the same thing needs to be done in relationships. Many of you are trash people in relationships. It's just that honest. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be really honest with you. Many of you are trash in relationships, including myself. And until I started to see that I'm trash in relationships, I could not trust my discernment or judgment. I was ready to blame everybody else but myself. How is Cam Newton going to look at anybody else but himself for the fact you have 3 children, 3 baby mothers, and 8 kids? But you see, and what I don't like is the hypocrisy. I didn't like the hypocrisy. Here's why I didn't like the hypocrisy. He had the audacity to talk about resumes for women and looking at what Dr. Brian's life was about. She's a runner. She's a track star. Okay. I see you. You're right. She is a runner and she's a track star and it triggers you. Absolutely. But now we've got to look at the fact that why is it that when you made mistakes, you get to say his life was lifing? Why is it you get to say that when it comes to your mistakes, life was just lifing? Was it just lifing? See, when we say life was just lifing, we don't really take account for the fact that we made choices, right? If you say life was just lifing, you're not taking accountability for the choices you actually made. No, life wasn't lifing. You were making life happen. Life was lifing when you were a child. The Bible says that, listen, when I was a child, I spoke as a child. I reasoned like a child. Right? I thought like a child. But when you became an adult, guess what you do? You think, move, and believe, thought, whatever you want to call it, as an adult. So at that point, life isn't lifing. You are now making life happen. It is not your fault that your childhood was so bad, but it is your responsibility to make better choices. We cannot complain about the cards we've been dealt, but we can take responsibility for the cards we're about to play. So when I was looking at Cam Newton, I was like, I do understand it more, and I'm going to break it down more. But I want to make it very, very clear. There's no excuses for this, right? And we're not going to put a nice little gloss on it because at the end of the day, you cannot. You got 3 sets of baby mothers. Not they had 8 children by one woman. You have 8 children by 3 different mothers, 3 different ecosystems, 3 different DNAs, 3 different women, 3 different households. And so regardless whether the children are at your house or not, right, you have 3 women coming in. Now, I don't like when people try to compare biblical times to now. I hear it a lot from men a lot of times. What about in the Bible, they talk about polygamy and all this kind of stuff. My Negro, can we be honest? Let's really understand that. I was in the shop today and as I was walking out, it came to me and I said, oh my God, this is the word dispensation that we talk about in Christendom, meaning that there's a time period for certain things that were allowed, but it doesn't mean that God was happy or pleased with it, right? It just means it was allowed, okay? Like if you read the book of Judges, it doesn't mean that God was necessarily pleased with some of the things that was going on, but it was allowed, okay, in that season of Judges. In the Bible, we're talking about kings, right? Like things like King David, King Solomon, having many women. Now, the beautiful thing about this is this. Are you going to war? No. Can we be honest about this? Are you going to war? Sir, are you going to war today? No. Are you going to war tomorrow? No. Okay, you're not going to war next week? No. You work a normal job, which is very secure and safe. You don't go to war, right? So there isn't a chance of you losing your children at war. Whereas if you look at King David, you look at Solomon, you look at Saul, you look at these kings who came after them, okay? There was war on a daily, my guy. One day you could be here as a king. Tomorrow, your whole family can be wiped out. It ain't the same thing. You understand what I'm saying to you? You are not at war. You are in a place where you are thriving and you are blessed to be in an environment where you don't lose children on a daily. Now, that doesn't mean that people don't die. Doesn't mean people don't pass away. But we're talking about a different dispensation of time. So we do not compare what happens to kings of old with athletes and entertainers and actors because you have the same kind of level of status and power. You have a different dispensation. And so you have to understand that those kings in those times, listen, children could be here today, gone tomorrow. So it's a different environment. And we're not saying that God was even pleased with a lot of the behavior that was happening, because we saw the results and the consequences of men that had several households. We saw it with Abraham, Ishmael, and Isaac. We saw it with Jacob, Rachel, and Leah. We saw it with King David and his children. We saw it with Solomon and his children. Right? So let's not negate the fact that there are negative consequences for having households like this. But that's my opening statement I wanted to make. If you're new here, please do me a massive favor. You're liking, you're sharing, you're subscribing to the channel. We really do appreciate you guys who are joining us, because like I said, we want to go deep. And always, I like to kind of break things down. And if you've missed, I mean, if you've been watching the Cam Newton stuff, it is very interesting, because of course, a lot of people have different points of view. And I think there's a lot that's been said that has not been said, you know. And I think when we look at you know, the Cam Newton situation, I'm going to go all the way right to the very beginning as to why I'm going to explain why I feel like he's high functioning. I mean, high value, but low functioning. Because in reality, a high function person also must understand the consequences of their actions and the detriment it has, whether they take a decision or not take a decision, and the emotional intelligence to be able to understand what the decisions actually mean. And to also be able to take criticism, because at the end of the day, my girl didn't even criticize you, my guy, properly. She didn't even. He jumped ahead a lot of times to defend himself when she hadn't said anything. But we're going to get there. 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 If you are here, we've got 120 people in the room. I know many of you guys are going to be joining. Listen, it's a members only live. I want to make sure we'll obviously release this a little bit later on to the public after this, but I want to make it a public, I want to make it a members only live for you guys. Okay. All right, cool. So, you know, as well. Yeah, she did turn to his face at the end. Yeah. So we're gonna get into this. I'm gonna play a little video for you guys as well. Make sure you guys like, share, subscribe, and then we're gonna get into the video as well. Much love.
Hi everyone, I'm Amir Uni, your Sales and Marketing Associate here at Ito. I'm thrilled to announce an exciting opportunity for our food lovers and adventure seekers out there. We at Ito are giving you the chance to win a trip to Accra for as little as $6. Imagine exploring our bustling street, vibrant markets, and our local landmarks that inspired our founding team to build Ito.
You'll get to experience the rich history and culture of Ghana, the first African country to gain independence.
But that's not all. The lucky winner could join us for Dirty December if they choose to redeem their winnings in December 2024.
This month-long celebration is filled with vibrant nightlife, festive activities, and unforgettable moments. Picture yourself dancing and celebrating amongst the festive activities in Accra, soaking up and enjoying what it means to have a nightlife in Accra, Ghana.
And of course, as a food enthusiast, you'll get to indulge in the ultimate African food experience alongside our co-founder, Margaret Deborah. From mouth-watering dishes prepared with authentic ingredients to exploring local food stalls, your taste buds are in for a treat.
Entering the competition is simple. First, purchase a single ticket or bundle tickets. Second, share this competition with your friends and family to spread the word. And lastly, follow us on all social media to get more updates or chances on how to win.
Okay.
It's getting teary-eyed, y'all. I didn't want to say it.
No, by no stretch of the imagination. Not to say that, you know, I don't cry.
Mm-hmm.
I think I find myself, even to that point, crying and admitting to crying more about my children, right? I was, like, my father to me is my hero.
Okay, this is where we're going to start from. We're going to start from this particular perspective, right? We're going to go back into the childhood and understand, where did we get here? Okay, all right. How did we get to this point? Because we need to understand how Cam Newton can get to a point where you can have 3 baby mothers and 8, I mean, 3 baby mothers and 8 kids and think this is normal. Okay, how can somebody get to a point and a thought process that 3 baby mothers and 8 kids is just life thing? How do we get to that point? The only way to get to that point is if you dismiss the emotional aspect that it takes to make these decisions, and the fact that the emotional aspect is missing as to why you made these decisions, right? The failure to understand that you have to emotionally connect to get to that point. right? So we need to really understand that point. When you understand that, we're gonna be able to tie in together why he is the way that he is. Okay, all right. So let's play a little bit more of the clip, and then we're gonna break this down a bit more.
To this day, right? And when I look at my children, I see that look in my sons to this day. And it's certain parenting tools that my father didn't do with me, but the point was pushed across.
Now that was my first. Oh, that was my first one. I said, oh, when he said that, the first thing he said, there was this. There were certain things my father didn't teach me that I wanted him to teach me. And that's when I knew straight away that I said, that's when I started realizing something wasn't quite right about the story you're telling. And look, I coach people day in, day out. This is why I'm not on YouTube as much as I used to be, guys, right? And so listen, if you want to get the coaching, by all means, listen, reach out to me. There's a link down below in the description box as well. I only have emergency spots now, but still, hey. Dealing with clients, a lot of times what you'll find is people will come to you and be like, no, my life was fine. It was great. It was, my parents were amazing. My parents were great. My parents were this, my parents were that. They start off this way, right? Until you start digging a little bit deeper as to what actually happened. Because a lot of times what happens is people are dismissing the actual small, intimate details. And so what you will realize is that Cam starts off telling us, oh, his dad's a hero. He's amazing. He's building him up. Da, 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 da. Then he tells us underneath it, so that it doesn't look like he's dismissing. It doesn't look like he's, insulting his dad. Underneath it, he goes, well, there's things that my dad didn't necessarily teach me that I wanted to teach me, right? That was my first inkling. Okay, there's things that you saw in your father and yourself relationship that you didn't necessarily like, which is now causing what we're seeing dysfunctional. But we're gonna get there.
Right.
That I want to give my children. That's not to say that my dad wasn't an amazing dad, which he is. There's certain things that, as a son, I wish he would have did certain things different. But our parents aren't perfect.
Yeah, but that's all of us as we get older. We aim to do different and better always.
So the thing that my children have taught me is.
Now I'm gonna pause it here again, because what he gonna say here is there's certain things his dad did not tell him. But remember, he said what he said about his mom. She's an angel. So we've got angel and hero now, right? We've got this very distinct, built-up platforms of the parents. Yet we're seeing the dysfunction that he's producing. Something isn't quite right. Can I be honest with you? Now I know some people will say to you that children can go wrong ways. Absolutely, they can. I can't lie to you. Children can go wrong ways. It don't matter how good your parenting can be, right? But that's not in most cases. Can we be honest? Let's stop pretending and say that's most cases. Like, oh my God, kids just suddenly go wrong. They don't suddenly go wrong. Okay, kids are byproducts of their parents, because kids are observing what they see from their parents. And you know what happens when they have a strong basis at home? Even when they go to school, they encounter different theology and ideologies. Yes, they grow, they learn, they pick up certain stuff. But what they start to see is warfare, because they say, wait, at home, this is how I'm taught. Outside is what I'm seeing. And if you've got a good relationship with your child comes back to you and says, hey, dad, mom, why am I seeing all of this stuff outside? And they're doing X, Y, and Z. Why come we don't do that in this household? Then you have opportunity to explain to them again, in this household, son, that's not how we do things. Here's the reason why we don't do this way. Because when you do this, this, and this, it leads to this, this, and this. That's why I don't let you do it. Is that okay? Right? Now, your son, that child will inadvertently go into warfare. Because if you've taught that child anything, then that child will take on your theology and ideology and take it out into the world. And when it encounters a separate theology or ideology, it will start asking questions and it will come back to base. If it is safe, let me say that again. A child will come back to base and ask questions if it is a safe place. The reality of the situation is a lot of households are not safe emotionally. So the child, when they go out, does not come back in and ask questions, because you and I, as parents, I'm not a parent, but just saying inadvertently, don't make it safe, right? And so this is why what you'll see is that a child will go out there and then come back and be like, I can't even ask my dad that. He'll just shout at me. Or I can't ask my mum that, because she'll ignore me, or she won't give me an answer. So I have to what? Figure it out. Here is where hyper independence starts to begin. And let me tell you this now. Can I tell you something, guys? Let me tell you a funny story, okay? At 14, I went to the dentist by myself. And the dentist told me, he said to me, you've got a tooth here that's when it grows, it's gonna push back. And it's gonna be out of alignment, right? And I said, he said, you can get braces now and fix it and have a good smile, or you can leave it as it is and just see how it happens. Do you know what I chose? Let's leave it as it is. I didn't want to have to do the braces. You know what? Do you know at 14, and do you know what's so scary? I remember at 14 sitting in that room by myself going, I probably should speak to my dad and mom about this, but would they care? That's my thought process. No, I'm not saying that, again, just like Cam, I'm not saying they're bad parents. What I'm saying is that I needed some of that emotional connection that I did not receive. So what ends up happening is I become independent. As soon as I became independent, I became a little adult. And as I become a little adult, I start believing my own bullcrap and my own lies that I'm a little adult. You're not a little adult at 14. You have no clue about the world. You are 14. You don't know nothing. As you can see, I've now got a Invisalign in. Yes, Elsid. I'm now fixing what should have been done at 14. So 60, 70, 18, 19 years onwards, I'm now fixing that smile of a decision I made at 14 because I was hyper independent at that young age. I didn't tell my parents, right? The same way they didn't turn up to some of my school meetings. It's the same way I said, no, well, they don't need to turn up to my dentist appointment. I got it handled. You've taught me to be independent. I'll be independent. And look at the decision I've made. I'm now 19 years down, fixing a smile that should have been fixed at 14. Imagine what would have... No, jokes. Personally, imagine what would have... I could have... You know what I mean? So you have to understand now that children only become that independent when there is no safe place to land at their house. So something wasn't quite right. So the fact that he's telling me that the parents are a hero and angels is telling me, as somebody said in the chat, he's romanticizing. And a lot of people do this. They romanticize what their childhood was. They romanticize what their childhood was. Exactly. At 14 would have been free. It's now cost me $3.5 grand. It's cost me $3.5 grand. Okay. You know what I mean? Something that would have been free, it's cost me $3.5 grand 19 years later. So just imagine that. You know what I mean? That's one decision. At 14, that's affected my whole entire life. Right? So kids don't do that just because they want to do that. They do it because there is no safe place at home. Let's continue onwards.
Is unlocking emotions. And also, it's just not my children. It's my partner now. And she does an amazing job with identifying that. It's like, tell your daughter, like, I'm making you better for your daughter. You doing what? The thing that my children have taught me is unlocking emotions. And also, it's just not.
Now, let's pause it right here. Let's pause that right here. Okay? Listen, the funny thing here is that what he just said is what Will Smith said as well. Right? I read Will Smith's book, and he said the exact same thing. And this is why they're high functioning, high value, low functioning. This is why Will Smith was, no offense to Jada, but just the way that the Jada's relationship, seemingly from our perspective, we're looking at it. Okay? All right? It's telling us something. You get what I'm saying to you? Right? So just what does that mean? It means, yes, you are high value, but you're low functioning. Because why is it your children are teaching you how to have emotions? No, listen to what you just said. Your children are teaching you something that is a basic element of human interactions that we should all have. Your children are teaching a grown-ass adult how to deal and handle and how to have emotions. So then what were you doing before then? No, let's really deep it. What were you doing before then? Right? If your kids now are the ones that were teaching you this, what were you doing before them? You were being a terror. Because you'd have been dismissing not only your emotions, but probably more than likely dismissing their emotions. So any woman you would have encountered, you would have dismissed their emotions and your own emotions. And so this is, by the way, this is information he's provided. I didn't make this up. I don't have to go somewhere else and make this information up. I don't have to piece things together. He said out of his own mouth, his kids are teaching how to be emotional. Thank you, Z. I appreciate you. Thank you for the super sticker. So this is what we mean by when I say about the dismissive avoidant attachment style and that how it's actually congregating. I'm going to provide a slide for you guys to kind of go through a little bit in a second. I just want to break it down from this perspective. So he's telling us right here that before this, he wasn't doing very well with emotions. Well, that means he would have been emotionally unavailable. He would have not known his needs and his wants. And the reason why children often do this is adults do this, is there must have been either a very, and I mean so traumatic in your adulthood as to why you're doing this, right? But more than likely, most cases are not because there was one incident in your adulthood. In most cases, it is because something in your childhood is what actually took place first. So more than likely, mama and daddy, right? Mama saying that she can you have to go to hell is telling me that probably wasn't actually that great of a relationship as you're saying. And I'm not saying that there isn't struggles, by the way. I am not saying that the relationship doesn't struggle or marriages will not struggle. We've heard stories before, but going through hell, I don't know. Going through struggles, yeah. But going through hell, I don't like that term. But it may be just one of those terms that we use as people anyway. So let me not go too heavy on it. What am I saying? I'm saying that there seems to be a romanticization of the childhood that he might have had. We know that from his own words that, his father was a pastor. He was a PK child. Now, if you know anything about PK children, you know how much they suffer. A lot of them suffer. Here's why. Because the weight and the mantle of being a pastor whilst trying to maintain a family, oftentimes there is an imbalance on the way that the parents handle ministry of the outside versus ministry of the inside. I remember when I was younger, I was probably about 23, 24. And I remember I said, I was leading a youth ministry and it was on WhatsApp. We were killing it, man. I can't lie to you. Shout out to the people who know me for a long time, them times, yeah. I was preaching, teaching, and all those kind of things. And I remember I said, like, my main concern is the sheep in this environment. I will fight and kill for them. You know what I'm saying to you? Bunch of 18, 15, 14, 13, 12-year-olds were in this group chat about relationship, about God. And we were trying to build a relationship with God and trying to teach them stuff. And I remember I said to myself, if anybody was the best of you guys, I promise you I'll kill for you. Like this, that's how much I felt like, because when God put me in position to protect people, I'm like, no. I must die for these people. So I don't care if they're 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I don't care. If you try to mess with them, you mess with me. That's how I looked at it. Now, I wasn't nobody's parent. I was simply a youth leader with my own ministry that, by the grace of God, at that point in time I had led. I took it very seriously. So what ended up happening? I started realizing that the difficulty for me personally was the imbalance of my life versus the ministry. I was struggling to even just go out with my friends. Like, they would invite me to badminton. I'd be like, bro, I can't go badminton, man. I got the ministry, man. I got to think about it. I got to study today. I got to do this. I got to do certain different things as well. You know what I'm saying to you? So, I've got to do that, so I'll leave the you guys go out. You guys go without me. And I started abandoning just even simple things, because my whole thought process was ministry. That's the family I need to look after. God has put me in front of the sheep. I need to look after, make sure they're good. And I forgot these people have their own families. I am not their dad. You know what I mean? I am not their dad. I am simply somebody God has put there to steward them. But I must remember that first and foremost, I also must look after my immediate family. What is it for a man to look after a ministry, can't look after his own household? Now, of course, I'm not married, but what I'm saying is people get the imbalance wrong. They get so focused on the ministry there that they forget about the ministry of their family that they have immediately. And if you're a PK, you know. Most of us who are PKs or grew up in a PK household in some shape or form, you know the days and the nights where you didn't have your parent because your parent was parenting somebody else. You know the days and the nights that your parent might even go the extra mile for someone else, but might not go the extra mile for you. And they'll tell you, listen, hey, look, this person's suffering more than me. And you know some of the common excuses you've heard is that you heard people say, you know what? They don't have someone like me, but you always have me. No, I don't even have you, my bro. As a son, I don't even have you, because you are by the grace of God, you are helping other people, but you're so for them, you're not realizing that you're not for me. And this is where you should be first and foremost. And so PKs go for a lot, man. If it's not that, it's a scrutiny. It is the constant judgment. It's the, that all eyes on you. There's a lot that you go through as a PK, right? That can be a struggle. But anyway.
My children, it's my partner now. And she does an amazing job with identifying that. It's like, tell your daughter, like, I'm making you better for your daughter. You doing what? Trust me, baby. It ain't no, calm down. We're not yelling. I'm not yelling, baby. I just want you to feel me. Yes, Kuda needs you. Kiri needs you. Tweet needs you. Like these things is where it's a place.
So here's my thing. Okay, here's my thing. All right, listen to what he just said. I want you to really hear. Okay, I want you to really hear what he just said. Okay, because what he's really asking for in this moment, and I know it's going to sound wild, but maybe I'm wrong, but I'm just going to say this. In this immediate moment, do you know what I heard? I heard a dismissive avoidant wanting acknowledgement, appreciation, and also 3 A's. Sorry, I got 3 A's and I also get them. Appreciation, acknowledgement, and then they need, why did I always get the third A? I always get the third A. Affirmation. That is it. Sorry, apologies. So acknowledgement, appreciation, and affirmations, right? And so as a dismissive avoidant, what tends to happen is you may be affirmed, but only in your career, only in your schooling, etc., right? You may be affirmed in that particular way, verbally affirmed in that way, right? You may be appreciated in that way for what you do. And I'm going to tie it into something. If you've watched the whole interview, Cam lets us know one thing that he keeps telling us: high functioning men don't get love. Do you remember that point? If I can get the clip for you guys, I'll get it. Hold on. Okay, yes, I can get the clip for you, right? 137. Okay, I'll get the clip for you. So I'm gonna put it in a second, right? Remember, he said that high functioning men don't get love. Why is this important? Because he didn't, and I wrote it down before I even heard the end. I said it's because of the way that you didn't get love as a kid. You didn't get it, right? You got love maybe for what you do, playing ball, right? You probably got love for getting your school results or whatever, right? But for being just Cam, you didn't get the love for. To be understood, you did not receive. You see, because a part of a dismissive avoidant attachment style is that the struggle is that they always feel like they are not able, okay, to be understood. They always feel like their particular wound is that when they say their needs or their wants, they will never have their needs or wants met. Right? But the reason why he's making such a strong argument on that is because part of the high function that he's talking about is traumatic high functioning. You see, I do believe that high functioning men is going to be more, it can be a struggle because people do see you as a bag, they see you as a resource and not necessarily as a love. But here's my thing, mirrors. The reason why you're being seen as a resource is because you like being seen as a resource, because you haven't found the formula yet. Oh, let me go here. Oh, let's go here. The reason why you're high, quote unquote, high functioning, as he said himself, right? High functioning men don't get the love. It's because, as somebody said in the chat, you don't function in love. It's because you don't actually, and she said it as well, you don't actually resonate with love. And so you actually resonate with doing. In fact, your whole life has been a plaudits and a stage of how you receive your love. When you play ball, that's how you receive your love. When you do your quote unquote, when you do your when you do your podcasting, you're getting your love, right? Whenever you're doing something, you're getting your love. And the reality of situations, and he said the love was transactional, exactly. That's a point I was trying to make as well, right? The reason why it's transactional is because you always witnessed it as being transactional, right? But we're gonna come there, and I'll do a part 2 because I don't want to go too far ahead of myself. I want to stick on this part today. Because I really want to focus on the childhood part, and then we're going to do part 2. But that childhood part is really important because it's actually the reason why he's actually thinking the way he's thinking now. And it's funny because he did sociology and psychology, but he never offered any point that told me where's the self-awareness. This is why it doesn't matter what you study. If you don't have the gift for it, you can operate in it, but you're never going to really make an impact because it's the gift and the love of it combined that really brings people masses to be freed from where they are, right? It's the reason why some people can go to a therapist and they're going like, I didn't get nothing from the therapist. It's because the therapist knows stuff, but it has not been revealed to them. It has not been, and in Christianity, we say there needs to be a revelation. You know? It's not been a revelation. You know what I mean? It's not been a revelation. And so this is why he can have knowledge and understanding. And I was talking to somebody about this on the weekend. I said, you can be knowledgeable and understanding, but you don't have wisdom. You don't realize that you study sociology and psychology, but did not think, right, let me look at it again and go, actually, the back of my mind and think about it and go, actually, why are my actions the way they are? Instead, you said life is lifing. No. You know, in psychology, that's not how it works. So you're even denying the knowledge that you actually have. You are looking yourself in the mirror and denying your image. Why? Because you're not comfortable with looking yourself in the mirror. You're not comfortable. You're not comfortable. And so this is important to now start really deeping where we're actually at with Cam. He thinks he's further along than he actually is, because rarely did I hear much of the actual awareness. But in this moment, you listen to where he's talking about his partner and saying how he's grown. If you really listen to what he was saying, what he's really saying in this moment is, I've grown. Listen again.
It's a refuge, not a place of war.
Right.
So as I'm living, I'm not afraid to say, bro, I cried. Man, my sons make me proud. And even though my dad never verbalized that, I knew what he meant.
Let's pause right there. That's an important point. That's a really important point. Right? That's a really important point. We're just going to scoot it back slightly. Let's go again.
I'm living. I'm not afraid to say, bro, I cried. Man, my sons make me proud. And even though my dad never verbalized that, I knew what he meant. So now.
So your dad never verbalized that you can cry, but you knew what he meant. Did you? Did you? Did you really? Because you just told us that your kids have to teach you emotions. So did you actually get the message? You didn't get the message. How can you? How can you? Right? So you have to really deep that this moment here for him, right? He says, "Oh, hey, look, it's okay to cry. My dad didn't say it. Okay, my dad didn't say it, but I knew it was okay. But yet you didn't know that you had emotions until your kids kind of taught you that. There's a discrepancy here. And again, that goes back to what we said about romanticizing that childhood as well. And remember that also when it comes to dismissive avoidance, one of the biggest things for us as dismissive avoidance, as myself who's growing into a more secure attachment, one of the biggest things for us as dismissive avoidance is that there can be an over-reliance on a particular skill, something that gives us value, right? So for Cam, not only is he somebody that maybe plays ball or, is an amazing, an amazing kind of baller, but actually what it will be is that there can be an over-reliance on something like intellect, right? And that's what somebody will hear and think that he's a narcissist. It's not. It's that dismissive avoidance are very high esteem on themselves because they've had to be self-reliant for a very long time. So what you'll realize is with people who are dismissive avoidance, they may sound arrogant or even narcissistic at the way that they talk about themselves, right? Because they've had to back themselves and no one else was backing them. So for them, he'll say things in a way that boasts himself, right? Because there's an over-reliance oftentimes on that intelligence. Okay. All right. So that's also really important too, right? So that's what I'm hearing right now. There may be that over-reliance on intelligence, thinking you're actually smarter than you actually are, but you're not. I am not either. And then I know those moments, I have to check myself regularly. And it's not like it's gone away. Every day I have to be like, hey, am I doing too much? Do I think I know too much? Am I being humble? And am I really being respectful? Because it's always there because you've always been taught to rely on you. It's a safety mechanism, a defense mechanism. If I'm always smart, you can't get me. Get what I'm saying to you? I know how to get out of situations.
Now, what's different is the patience that my children teach me without telling me, Pop, Dad, this is how I learn. Stop yelling at me or stop being soft on me. Tell me what I actually need to do, right? It's those things where it's like, man, we just have a beautiful moment. And I know my son, you know what I'm saying, love boba tea. It's like, yo, boom, let's go get some boba. Boba is right next to Papa John's. We go get a stuffed crust. Like, boom, that's our thing. But each one of my children is different, and it's a different emotion.
And so I think even, you know, I think even when he was describing this situation, you know, about even the kids saying, you know, Dad, stop yelling at me, you know, tell me what to do. Well, the reality is, the reason why they're telling you that is because you're doing the very thing that you got told to do. Which is why I could take that information straight away. It's like, the reason why he just said that example of, like, maybe his kids might say to him, listen, Dad, stop shouting at me, tell me what to do, is because that's what you were doing, right? And because you've learned that, and if we can take that as an example, if that's what you actually got in your childhood, yes, you can. It's like when I used to say a lot of times, and you know, and it did, right? It helped me a lot. My dad was very strict, you know, very, very strict at points. And it did help me because it makes sure that you're disciplined, you're rigid, you make sure that you don't do stupid stuff, you know, you make sure that, you know, you're a serious person. I can be around most adults. I don't look out of place. It's always, there's some great points to it, right? But they don't talk about the downfalls, right? Being that strict means also you fear taking risks. Being that strict restricts your creativity. We don't talk about the fact that you emotionally felt some pain from that level of strictness when there was not much understanding from your perspective of what you felt. We don't talk about those negative aspects. We keep it all the way positive, like all the great things that happen. But in reality, those things that are missing in that situation. And so we are only going to replicate what we have seen, okay, and what we've experienced. So if your kids are saying to you, as an example, as he said, that, hey, Dad, don't be shouting at me, just tell me what to do, it's because that is what you probably have seen yourself and you are replicating with your own kids, meaning we can look at a bit more deeper into your relationship with your parents. It wasn't as pretty as you're making it out to be. It doesn't mean your parents are bad. It means we get a better understanding of where this dysfunction is coming from. Let's go a little bit deeper.
That comes out from me, and it encapsulates or embodies and allows me not to compartmentalize out of like, yo, you're compartmentalizing. It just allows me to
know each child.
Oh my God.
And serve them at their needs.
And that right there is, I'm the intrusive dad, where I love.
So I love the way he talks about his kids, right? I love that. I love that point. Yes, Dahlia, actually great point as well. Yes, absolutely. I love the fact that he's so passionate about talking about his kids. We want to see more of that. I don't want to ever take that away from him. And so we must appreciate that. Like, there are some men who are just not deadbeat dads. Let's be honest. I definitely want to understand that. I necessarily, you know, I love the fact that he's present and he's aware. Okay, he's there and he's seemingly there for his kids. I think he said he has all the kids with him. So I'm not going to shout at him on that. I'm going to appreciate that as well. Okay. Okay. So the reality of the situation is, okay, that the next part he's going to talk about, I think it's quite interesting. I think the word that he uses is very interesting. And the reason why I say that is because I wonder if he's gone the complete opposite way. I don't know if his parents were intrusive and he's following that, or whether the parents were so loose with him that he became independent. And I would more reside upon the area of his parents were more loose with him, because as a dismissive avoidant, somebody who's more intrusive usually produces an anxious attachment style person, but somebody who's avoidant usually is because they've been left to their own devices rather than having necessarily quote unquote intrusive parents. My parents were never intrusive. So the word intrusive is also quite interesting that he uses that word.
Love you, boy. Come here, give me a hug. Like, go brush your teeth. But you must, boy. Going upstairs, like those, that's how,
Yeah.
I mean, even with my friends, even with my team, right? I can sometimes be too blunt.
Yeah.
And I'm learning, right? But enough about me.
Listen, you know, in that situation, you know, he said obviously, you know, he tries to hug his kids, and I don't think that's intrusive at all. I mean, like asking your kids for kids for a hug and thing. I don't like the word intrusive. I don't think it like the word. I don't think it fits with the situation. But too blunt, I think that's a lot of us, right? I think too blunt is a lot of dismissive people. Here's why: because they take the emotion out of the situation. You know, I had a dream. You know what's so crazy? I had a dream the other day that I was being too blunt. I swear to God. I had a dream the other day, and I was talking to somebody and I was being too blunt, and the person started crying. I was like, "Why are you crying?" You know what I mean? I was like, "Why are you crying for, man? Did I say anything rude to you? Come on, get over it." And it's so funny because dismissive avoidant people tend to take the emotion out of a situation. So they don't consider the emotional impact on the other party. Because again, we take the emotion out of the situation because it's just got to get done, right? It's like the B. Simone and the Megan situation. It's just got to get done. I'm not got time to be emotionally sucked into the situation. Look, clean your room. It just needs to get done. But we don't realize that cleaning your room is also part of an emotional aspect. There may be a reason why that child doesn't want to clean their room, but all we're going to say is clean your room. I don't have no time for whys. Why has a very long tail, and I'm not here for the tail. So get your room cleared now. Now, am I saying there are not times for that? There are absolute times for that. We should absolutely let kids know what time it is, okay? But what ends up happening is that for dismissive people, they are seeing that the emotions is prohibited or prohibiting what needs to be done. And so, unfortunately, what ends up happening is, right, the way we will say stuff will come across as blunt. Right? There is a time and a place for bluntness. It is not always needed. I know that myself. I'm still learning to be better at this. You know, there's times where, and you know what it is? It's when I'm fed up. It's usually when I'm fed up. I'll be honest with you. It's when I've seen you go around on Mulberry Bridge the 3rd time, or is you've done this for the 4th time. I don't want to hear it, bro. I don't have the time. Right? Now, of course, I got to work on that. Something I've got to do, you know, as well. So, you know, so that's another thing as well. That's a good point, Jay. That's a good point. Yeah, think of mentality. His parents lack physical emotions, and so now he thinks he's been intrusive to his children by being physical and loving them. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. Elsid said it's a time and place for emotions. I hear you, Elsid. Gigi said, obviously, yeah, I had to work on my bluntness, definitely due to my dismissive avoidance. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
Obviously, when we're talking about your intro, back in the day, it was like a badge of pride to say NAACP. You know what I'm saying? Black, when Martin Luther King and these activists were people who were so stoic, they believed in something, they stood for something, they spoke for the community. How can young individuals get a part of certain programs or certain...
Okay, so we've gone past my point. Hold on, let me get to my actual I want to get on last notes because okay, yeah, that's the last of those notes. Okay, so let me go slightly back and just reload what I wanted to get onto because I think here we go. Okay.
Or be patient with a guy that does not have.
Yeah, especially if she has certain
100%.
100% she will. Especially if she has certain especially if she has certain criterions that she knows most men of her age won't meet.
Okay, so I think on part 2, I'm gonna work on I'm gonna work on the next part of it because I want to break it into sections, right? And so in reality, like I said, going back to this point we're making about Cam Newton and situation, right? This is part that I wanted to play because I wanted to get to this point because there was other things that were happening within this conversation. Like he was definitely triggered a lot of times with Dr. Bryant. And I think she was also triggered at certain points too, because she was also you know, ready for some of the questions he was bringing and as well. So, but you know, of course, she's a guest, so you know, I can understand why she may have felt triggered at points. I think let me just go to this point here. Okay, let's go.
This is Sugar Daddy's Addy in here. This is businesswoman. No, you need to we need to get this on. I see it happen so many times. Wow. Dress code. You're not coming here with Jordans and flip-flops. Like you can't do that. You can't disrespect the altitude.
Yeah, the culture of what's here.
You know what I'm saying? So with that, I know and I understand. A lot of people see my situation and I think that I'm not high function.
What situation?
Now pause. This is where it went downhill for him. This is where it went downhill for him. Because when he said, and it's my last part of this, in the last few minutes, when he said, obviously, a lot of people feel like I'm not very high functioning. Yeah, that tells me that you're not high functioning. Why are they thinking that you're not high function, my guy? Huh? Why do they think that? You know what I'm saying to you? Why do they think that? Right? They only get to see you on podcasts and see you on the football field. So why is it they don't think you're very high functioning, Kat? Okay, more than likely, what you're presenting is giving us you're not very high functioning. So this is no one else's fault apart from your fault. You're presenting that idea to them. And 3 baby mothers and 8 children is probably not what they think is high functionable.
See my situation. That's a very vague question, and it's for you.
What situation are you referring to that they're looking at and thinking is not high functioning?
Just my life.
your life entirely or your life in
my life.
Now, this is what happened here. Look, see, the reality situation is he got triggered real bad here. If you watch his body language, now I want to make it closer because it really be hitting, right? Here we go.
It's my life.
See, don't deflect. Let's stay here. Your life entirely or your life in relationships?
Got him good. Got him. Got him. Got him. Got him. Like, he knew he messed up because she didn't take the conversation there. She did not take the conversation there. He took it there. This is why I tell you guys that if you let people speak long enough, they will hang themselves. Don't even try to hang them. They'll hang themselves. They'll hang themselves. Look at that face. That face is a man. Okay, look. Got him. Got him. Got him good.
Both, really.
And they think that you're low functioning.
No, I don't.
You just said people see your life and think you're not high functioning. The opposite of that would be low functioning.
No. Okay, so here you go. You're trying to take my intentions away from.
No. She's absolutely right. What he said was people think that you're low functioning. They don't think you're high functioning. So if they don't think you're high functioning, what do they think? We didn't add mid function here. We had high and low. You said high, we said there's only two, high and low. So if they don't think you're high, she has not misread what you said. You are saying that they're perceiving you as being low. I don't know why he's being disingenuous. No, I do know why he's not being disingenuous. Because he knows he got called out. And you see, what he's trying to do, and this is he's not being authentic. This is why it's coming out the way it's coming out. The reason why it's coming out the way it's coming out is because he's not being authentic in this moment. What he's trying to do is create the image that he's got it all, that not maybe not he's got all together, but you know what? I already know my ish, but you don't know your ish. That's the whole point. You don't know your ish. And he's trying to give the impression that he knows his ish, but he doesn't know his ish. Because if he did, he would have a different way of moving. Okay? So instead of actually just being like, you know what? I don't actually know this. I don't actually know. You know what? Let me know. You opened your mouth to say, people think this about me. She didn't bring it up. You did. And she saw it too. That's why she you know what? She was like a predator. She saw the animal, you know, slightly wounded, and she went in for the kill, you know, because she didn't want to bring it up. But the fact that he brought it up, she went in for the kill. I'm not mad at it.
This is can I correct it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Or can I give you more?
Yes, more information. Heck yeah.
So I'm not married, right? I have beautiful children.
How many?
8.
I didn't do my research. I thought it was 4, but 8. Okay.
No, baby.
Cool.
It's
By how
8.
many women?
3. And this is the kicker. I won't.
Now, here's a funny thing, right? He was like, you know what? Can I explain myself? Because the whole point of, do you know what the whole point of this is? See, I know people like Cam Newton, right? Like myself, all we want to do is be understood. Okay? All we want is to be understood. So you saw that in that moment. He said, can I correct it? Can I correct it? Why did you need to correct it? Because he felt like he was about to be what? Misunderstood. And that is a trigger and a wound. Because what that really means is I'm not being seen. Because here's what actually happened. In your childhood, you weren't being seen for who you were. You might have been seen for what you do, but you were not being seen for who you were. You were not being acknowledged for just being. So whenever we talk about, I still got the 3 A's: affirmation, acknowledgement, and affirmation, acknowledgement, and what was it? Appreciation. Right? What I'm really letting you know is you have to be seen, appreciated, and affirmed for who you are. Not just for what you do. If you clean the house and you get appreciated, but you don't get appreciated for just being a son or a daughter, you're being appreciated for what you do. If you get acknowledged, meaning you get to be seen or heard, only when, for instance, the parent, there's an actual issue in the household or something like that, there's nothing really that it's about you or your life, then yeah, you're being acknowledged for what you can bring as a solution to the table, not for who you are. And when you're only being affirmed for when actually you've done something great, like school or scholarships or sports or whatever, and you're not being affirmed for who you actually are, you're not being seen. You're not being seen. You're not being seen. And because you're not being seen for who you are, that pains you. And every time somebody misunderstands you, you've got to explain yourself. And look, I am a testament of that. A testament. You know how we know that? Let me give you an example, guys. You know, I was out myself as well, right? An example of that is the last interview that I did, not last one, sorry, the last Ready to Love interview I did was with who? Was with Alexis, right? With Alexis. And I was so concerned about people misinterpreting me, right? So concerned. Because what misinterpretation actually means, it equals rejection, right? Misinterpretation equals rejection, okay? So for the dismissive avoidant, when you're being misunderstood or misinterpreted, it equals rejection. Rejection is what you suffered in your childhood. It's a wound that you don't want to feel again. You do anything you can to stop it. So when I had that interview with Alexis, and at the last half an hour, not everybody, loads of people misunderstood what I was saying. I was like, how they misunderstood what I was saying? How? So what did I end up doing? Not one, not two, but 3 different lives after. Right? 3 different lives after. Because I wanted people to understand, hey, guys, there's more to the story. Like, understand. Because I was feeling misunderstood. The reality of the situation was, I was afraid of also being rejected. So my misunderstanding or misunderstood equals rejection. It's an uncomfortable feeling. You just got to be honest about it, right? Once you learn that, you're like, oh, damn. So that's why I was doing that. Oh, okay. Now I know why I was doing 3 lives. Because I was really scared of being rejected, which I felt in my childhood, which is a wound. I don't like it. Which is, again, as Jay Blake says, leads to people pleasing. Absolutely. Or over-explaining yourself when you don't need to explain the situation because it is what it is, right? You ain't going to change your mind, right?
More. Now.
By multiple women? What's the intention about your wife?
I just want God to bring him.
Oh, okay. And you have, so you just.
Because my point is this. My desire to get married is lower than my fear of divorce.
Nah, and that's some bullcrap right there. Let's be honest. That was some bullcrap. I just want God to bring them. What? Come on, Cam. How do children come? No, Cam. Where do children come from? They just drop from heaven into someone's belly? Or does it come from sex? Does it come from you having to have sex with other women? That's when I really knew that, oh, he's being really triggered right now. He even wants to take away the logic of life. The logic of life and simple answer of, and you see, the very thing he accused her of, he did the exact same thing. In the very beginning of the video, he accused her of, I just wanted a simple answer. Well, this is not a simple answer. I just want God to bring them. What do you mean you want God to bring them? What do you mean you want God to bring them? How can you say you want God to bring them? They don't just come from nowhere, right? You start dodging and deflecting. The very thing you accused her of doing in the very beginning, you said, I didn't need to, why? It's a simple answer. And really and truly, it's because here's the truth. Okay? Here's the truth. Right? Here is the truth. You don't like the spotlight that you put on her being put on you. Okay? Okay? You don't like the spotlight that you put on her that's being put on you. I think from the very beginning of this conversation, you are afraid. You know, like when we used to do Ready to Love interviews, and you can see that somebody from the very beginning is defensive of me straight away. Like they're ready to go. Like as soon as they start the interview coach, like myself, you can see that their walls are up, and I've got to work to build them all the way down. Why is that? Because they've already perceived that I'm going to come a particular way. They're perceiving that I will see them for who they really are. And so when someone feels like they're going to be seen for who they really are, oh, last bit.
So, as you would say it, Dr. Brian, you said it, I didn't say it. I will agree. I'm just taking my time.
You're not taking your time.
I am, though.
You're being very action-based. You're not taking your time. You're being very action-based.
I'm taking my time.
You're being very action-based. You have 8 kids with 3 different women.
Yes.
You are creating.
He thought he had it. No, he really thought he had it. I was confused. He really thought he had it in that moment. He really thought he had her. He said, as you said, I'm taking my time. Where are you taking your time? You're here sexing women and having multiple children, bruv. How did you think you was taking your time? Right? How do you think you were taking your time? Not one, not two, but 3 baby mothers, 8 children. He got all comfortable in his seat, like, yeah, I'm taking my time.
Creating and multiplying. That is not taking your time. You're being very selectively active. Okay. So you're creating in disclaimer. The kids are innocent. They are beautiful and amazing. Anything I said, nothing to do with them babies.
All right. So look, my time is up. I've gone for an hour. And that's our part there done. So you know, we'll definitely do another video again. Probably I might come a little bit later. It's my day off, so I'll try and maybe come a little bit later on. But I think the reality of the situation is you know, I think the reality of the situation is that this situation with Cam is so much more deeper. You know, and I feel like, you know, when it comes to this situation with Cam, you know, I think he very much, there's a lot more work that needs to be done. I want to do part 2. Oh, you guys say no, it's a bad place to stop. Oh, I know. Sometimes you gotta leave them on a cliffhanger. You know what I'm saying to you? But you know, I think this situation just kind of, you know, shows us that there's so much more workings underneath that need to go into what Cam is actually doing, and he needs to figure out if he really wants to be able to understand why he made a dysfunctional situation as he did. Your parents stayed together and married, so why would it that you would decide to go a different route if they're heroes and angels? Doesn't make sense. Something deeper. And so make sure, guys, when you're gonna like, share, subscribe, click on that bell button. By all means as well, guys, we are still doing our coaching, but I've only really got the emergency spots left open. So if you do want to get the coaching as well, then please come in through again. We'll definitely get you guys in the queue jumping. If you want to queue jump, by all means jump in there. But you know, we gotta make sure that it's a lot right now. There's work to be done. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of work to be done. So I appreciate you guys. Make sure you stay locked, stay loaded. We'll see you again very, very soon. Much love, much appreciation. And ta-ra, ta-ra. Goodbye.